Hello and welcome back to AR-77. Today's video is a re-review of a gun that I've already sort of shown, already reviewed. The reason I'm doing this again is that I feel some of the information I gave in the initial review was perhaps a bit misleading and not as accurate as it could have been. I had a comment from one of you, a comment that I was grateful for, saying about, did you know the slide was kind of active and moved? And I was like, yeah, I did know that, but I didn't explain it properly on the review, I don't think. So I've had the gun out and I've been shooting it a bit. It's not one of my favourites, but I've had it back out and I've used it again, and I do enjoy owning it, I'll be honest with you. But I know a bit more about the gun now. I'm a bit more familiar with it, so I thought let's just do a proper review once and for all. And I'll probably take the other one down at some point when I get around to it. Okay, let's get into it then. This is the Ekol ES 66C, made by a company called Voltran in Turkey, and I think they pretty much generally are better known for making blank firers or replica guns. I know that they are used in films and things like that, the replicas and the blank firers, I guess. And this is one of their air guns. This is a 4.5mm BB shooting CO2 powered air gun. Now, first thing I'm going to show you is obviously we've got a box here, and it's always a nice touch when you're spending around £100 for a gun. For it to come in a box like this, a case, it just saves you having to buy your own. It's not necessarily going to be the best, but it's something good to keep it in. And it's got the holes there for your padlocks if you want to lock that up. So that's a nice touch, in my opinion. And you just slide those apart and your gun is inside. Don't often do like unboxing videos, do I? So you've got your mag. I'll come back to that at some point. You've got your gun there, and I'll come back to that. Let me just run through what else comes in the box. If we take that out, we've got bits of now there's a bit of silica gel there. I don't know if that came with it or if I put that in. I seem to have these all over the shop, so I might have put that in myself. You've got some information here. You've got your kind of manual. The gun was actually in that plastic kind of sleeve. Bit of information here about other guns that are available in the range, including some quite exciting looking rifles there. And you've got there's like a little Allen key there, and your key for taking the CO2 out or piercing the CO2 bulb. Let me just show you that briefly, because it's not your standard Allen key. It's where is it? There, you can see in the end there's a bit actually in the bottom of the magazine like that. So you can't just use a regular Allen key. You have to use this kind of proprietary one. So I just thought I'd mention that as well. But this, you're not going to lose it. You've got a case to keep everything in. So right, let's pop that back in there. Get all my gubbins back in no particular order. Let's put that back on there. Let's close the box and get rid of that, because what we're here to see is the gun. Okay, so replica wise, it's not a direct replica, I wouldn't say, of any particular firearm, although it is very similar in a number of different ways to the Browning High Power. So this is the Ekol ES66C, C standing for compact. They do a longer barrel version. They do quite a number of different versions, actually, different finishes, I should say. You can get the full metal ones here, like this chrome version here, where you've got metal frame, metal slide. You can get obviously the full length version. You can also get a kind of dual tone version where you've got polymer lower and metal slide in either kind of black or the chrome, or a kind of a satin finish and a gunmetal finish. So there's a whole range of different finishes you can get with the gun. What I would say is, with the plastic kind of lower frame versions, they also have a bit of a rail on the front. But one of the reasons I went for this was I like the sort of the clean lines of it. It's very, obviously, with it being similar to a high power, it's also got that kind of classic gun look to it. You know that I'm a fan of 1911, and really, if there'd have been a Colt Defender in the same sort of finish, I'd have probably picked that up instead, but there isn't. So yeah, like I say, similar to the high power in some ways. The front end here is a bit similar, although on the high power that would be more of a kind of a vertical line there. The kind of slide catch release here is a similar shape to what you'd see on a high power. These grips are very similar to grips that I've seen on a number of different high powers. I don't know if it's a particular version or if it's just one of the grips that you can, one of the finishes you can get it in. The hammer as well, if that were hollowed out, if there were a hole through there, I've seen high powers with a very similar looking hammer to that. So there are the kind of comparisons. Let's have a bit of a walk around, shall we? This gun is all metal. It's pretty weighty, pretty solid in your hand. I'll put some stats up kind of around about here, so you can get the lowdown on the sort of details of the weapon. But yeah, like I say, it's full metal. The only bits that I would say are plastic are possibly, I mean, the grips are plastic. I think even these bits of extra, you know, the hammer and the safety or the takedown lever, the trigger, I think they're all metal as far as I can tell. They certainly feel cold to the touch when it comes out of the box. At the front end, it is a non-recessed barrel, so there's a kind of a fake kind of barrel bushing there, but it's a non-recessed barrel, as I say. There's no dots on the front sight there, with it being the chrome version. I can't speak for the other versions because I haven't got the other versions. But yeah, there's no dot there, but it's quite easy to see there. The slide is kind of a little marked. You can see, if I can get it in focus, it's a bit mottled along there. But I mean, it's nothing major, but it would have been nicer if that was a cleaner kind of line down there. Yeah, so that's the slide. If we come to the other side, the ejection port here is solid. It's not cut out ejection port, which isn't the worst. Especially, it's one of the reasons I went for the chrome finish. If it's kind of all black, you kind of notice it a bit more. When it's chrome, you could be forgiven for thinking, oh, it's a kind of a chrome barrel in there. So it's not the worst. And actually, when you take the gun apart, which you can do, which is something that I failed to mention in the first review, so that's another reason why we're here today. There's actually workings around and about here, I think it is. So if it was cut out, you'd be able to see them, and it wouldn't look that good anyway. So if we come around to the rear, you can see we've got two white dots there on the rear sight. So you've got your sight picture just like that. They're a little shoddily finished, not painted as well as perhaps they could be. So yeah, it's not ideal, but again, it's not a deal breaker. You can still see the gap there. You can still see your front sight post through there. What else can I tell you? Okay, well, the safety catch here. In my initial video, I got to the point where I said, oh, this does work as a safety catch. I started off saying it doesn't, and then I said, oh, it does. The more I've used it, I don't know if it was a fluke or what, but the more I've used it, the more I've seen that this doesn't work as a safety at all. You can pull through it. So let me tell you how this works. This is a decocker. Okay, so if you cock the gun like that, and then you push that up, it decocks the gun. But you're not in safe there. That's not safe. Even though it's up, it's not in safe, because if you pull the trigger, you can pull through it. Now, when I first had the gun and I did that first review, the tolerances were perhaps a bit tighter. I hadn't lubed it, and I wasn't able to, once that was, when that was up, I wasn't able to kind of pull through beyond that point. But you can, it's just a tight trigger. So, yeah, I would say don't take my initial word for it. Don't treat that as a safety. It is purely a decocker. Okay, so that's the safety. There's a few things about this gun that it's kind of like got a bit of what you'd call character. Some would say, well, they're flaws. Some would say, well, it's just a bit of character. It's just different to other guns. So it is a non-blowback gun. It is double action and single action. As I say, it does have a good feel to it, actually. Along with the weight, everything feels very solid, and I wonder if that's because these are made by a company that makes actual functioning kind of firearms, albeit blank firers. Is that really a firearm then? I don't know. And the slide does move, but when I first had this gun, I could pull the slide back and then it would just stay back, even though the slide catch wasn't engaging with it, because it was all so tightly put together. The slide would just stay back and I would have to push it forward. Since then, I've had the gun apart and I've discovered that I can actually rack the slide like that. And that's a really nice, satisfying noise as well. You can hear this sort of, I don't know if this is a word, but the solidity of it feels really good, sounds really good. None of that sort of tinny shakiness or anything like that. As you can see, everything is really tightly put together, and you can see there's a kind of a chrome outer barrel around the barrel when you rack that slide. So that's really nice touch. Once again, rack your slide, decock it, but you are still able to shoot the gun. So you do have to be careful and exercise all appropriate caution. Okay then, so let me tell you a little bit more about the gun and how you can take this gun down to a certain point. So what you have to effectively do is pull the hammer back, then pull the slide back. Now I'm going to try and do this. Yeah, okay. I'll take my finger out of there for a start, even though it's not loaded. Okay, you've got this little screw piece here, and you can just undo that by hand. Shouldn't take too long. And once that's out, pop it there. Focus. And the slide at that point should just come forward, up and over. Okay, so there's your, let me show you. There's your slide. Yeah, all quite nicely finished, actually. Quite pretty good, pretty well put together, I would suggest. And I know some of you have mentioned you've heard horror stories about these guns, but I've not had a problem with this at all. I've shot it quite a lot now, and I've not had any issues with it jamming or breaking or coming apart or anything like that. If anything, it was built too solidly in the first instance, which is why I felt like the slide wasn't working. So what I've done is, you can see where the slide runs on these grooves here. I put a bit of the old silicone oil in there. I also put a bit of silicone oil just down in here so that this piece of the slide, which does move in and out of that kind of groove, could move a bit more freely. And what I also noticed was that this kind of pin here that goes in the front, it's almost like a kind of a guide rod, but it's not. It's like a guide rod, but does it work as a, yeah, I guess it does serve as a guide rod. This was in really tight. So what I did, after putting a bit of lubrication on the gun itself, right, let me try and do this on camera. Come on. Be nice. Be nice to me. Come on. It's not wanting it, is it? I'm going too far. Yeah, this is the issue. I didn't need to pull it up and over this piece here, but I'm so used to doing that with things like the P365 by SIG. You don't actually have to do that. So let me show you that again. You can just pop it on like that, and then at that point you can push it back, he says, not doing it. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. There we go. So you can just push it and hold it back there like that, you can see, and then you can pop your screw in there. So let's see if I can demonstrate this now, although I'm all fingers and thumbs. So if I put that in that's only finger tight. Okay, I've not screwed that. So it's actually all right because of the silicone oil. So yeah, it's only finger tight. What I did initially was when I first put that back on, it was tight to the point where the slide wouldn't go back to the front again. So I just slightly loosened it a touch, and then the slide was able to go back. Okay, so sorry about that, all fingers and thumbs, but it's difficult when you're kind of reaching around a camera. Anyway, we got there, didn't we? We got there. So let me talk about the magazine at this point. Now, I think this is quite a good magazine. It's full size, metal, heavy weight. As you can see, CO2 goes in there, and I described before how to use the sort of proprietary Allen key just to tighten that up. It's a 14 round magazine and quite a good one. Everything on it seems to be kind of metal, which is nice, good quality. You put your follower back there, and you do have that hole there for your BBs, for your 4.5mm BBs. And it's actually got a magnet at the top of here, so when your BBs roll down, it does hold them, the first few actually, by the magnet there, so they're not going anywhere. And then you just release that, and you've got this little bit here, this kind of spring-loaded bit here. I don't know what that does, but obviously, oh, I do actually know what it does. Right, let me show you. Right, it's just dawned on me. So anyway, I'll stick to this first, and then I'll go into it. So it kind of stays up there, and then obviously it has to come down to release the BBs. Yeah, 14 round magazine. So what that does, and I should have showed you this before, so apologies, but we're taking it apart once again. See if we can take a bit less time to put it back together. Okay, so let's take that off. As you're shooting the gun, okay, this is your actual barrel. You can see that as you pull the trigger up to the wall there, that goes back into the top of the magazine, like that would go into there like that. And I think at that point what that probably does is pushes this down, because you can see it's kind of tapered at the top there. So I think the barrel will push that down, allowing the BB to sort of see the full diameter of the barrel and forming a tighter seal at that point. And then the hammer drops and the BB comes out. Okay, so you could say, well, that's not actually a true single action at that point, because once that's back, you are still doing something here. It's kind of 1, 2 actions. That's a nice noise though, isn't it? That kind of ratchety noise. So yeah, it kind of works in kind of double action, single action, but you could say, well, that single action is actually not true single action. Okay, bear with me now for the next 6 weeks while we try and put this gun back together again. Oh, look what he did. Look what he did straight away. Okay, let's get that in there. Oh, we are gold. Ah, see it's stuck back again there. Okay, so I can perhaps loosen that a little touch. Alrighty, so what the instructions say for this gun is, when you put the mag in, make sure the hammer is back, because we also have this kind of firing pin that kind of juts out into the kind of the well here, and you could snap that off when you pop your mag in. So you pull that back, and it brings back the firing pin, and your magazine can go in, at which point you can then decock it, and you are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so do make sure that's back before your mag goes in. Then you can either shoot it or decock it, and you're ready to go. Right then, so why would you buy one of these? Well, it's a lot of metal for the money. It's it is a full metal weighty gun. It's got a bit more going for it, you could say, than the Colt Defender, although the Colt Defender is a bit cheaper. Let's compare it with something else then. What about the Glock, the 19? That's about £100 as well, and it has a stick mag. It doesn't have a full-size metal dropout magazine. It is a a replica of a striker-fired gun, so you're not going to get the sense of cocking it and shooting it. You're not going to get the sense of racking the slide, which I can't do now because I've done it too tight. Because I've got my mag in. Yeah, you're not going to get the sense of being able to rack the slide like that. I don't know if that's a big deal for you. You can't take the gun down at all. You can kind of take this down. I guess it depends on a few different things. Do you like the more modern style of the Glock 19, or do you prefer a more classic look like something like that? They're both compact guns. This obviously is a hammer-fired. The Glock is a striker-fired, as I say. This has a moving slide. The Glock doesn't have a moving slide. This can be taken down. The Glock can't. The Glock is more accurate, but power-wise, let me think. Yeah, I would say the Glock is slightly more powerful, although this does pack quite a punch. You'll have to go back and look at the stats for the actual figures that are claimed on the box. The Glock is definitely a close replica of a Glock 19. This is perhaps not an exact replica of any particular gun that you'll be familiar with. It's not my favourite gun. It's not by any means the best in my collection. But I have to say, I think it's well put together. It's nice and solid. I can't say it enough. It's full metal, and that chrome finish for me looks really nice on it. It looks really good. Yeah, it's the weight alone is nice. The shape on this hammer as well. That's never even seen a hammer. The shape on this grip is really nice to kind of keep your thumb there while you're shooting. I guess if you're left or right-handed. So I would recommend, if you're considering a compact gun of a classic kind of style, let's say you're considering something like the Defender, check this out at the same time. It's more functional, and it does more than the Defender. But yeah, I get, it does cost a bit more. If you're looking for the Glock or something like a Glock, a more modern pistol, you're going to go down that path, or you're going to look at the CZ75 P07 Duty, something like that. But these Ekol guns are definitely worth a look. Yeah, I'll leave it up to you. If you can, get your hands on one and check them out. Hopefully, I have given more information and more accurate, detailed information in this re-review than I gave in the initial one. So I think I'll leave them both up there for the time being, and then after a couple of weeks, I'll probably take the initial review down. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, get in touch with the comments. I do try and get back to as many as I can if they are relevant. Yeah, please do take care, stay safe. All the very best. Bye.